March 7th, 1945. The Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen. Germany was collapsing, and the Americans were closing in like wolves on dying prey. Captain Klaus Richter wasn't supposed to be here. He was a bridge engineer, not a frontline soldier. For 20 years, he had built things. Now, the Reich demanded he destroy them. The morning started with thick fog. Klaus stood in the command bunker on the eastern bank of the Rhine, studying blueprints he had memorized. Every support beam, every explosive charge placement, every structural weakness. Colonel Ernst Scheller entered without knocking. His SS uniform was pristine despite the chaos. His eyes held the cold certainty of a man who had stopped questioning orders. "Captain Richter, you've completed the preparations?" Klaus straightened. "The charges are set, Herr Colonel. 2 tons of explosives. The bridge will collapse within seconds of detonation." "Excellent." Scheller moved to the window. "The Americans are 12 kilometers away. When they arrive, you will execute without hesitation." Klaus felt something twist inside. "The civilians, sir. There are thousands crossing. Refugees, women, children are not your concern." Scheller's voice could freeze steel. "The bridge must not fall into enemy hands. If the Americans cross here, they'll be in the Ruhr within days." Klaus understood. The Ruhr was Germany's industrial heart. But watching the endless stream of desperate people shuffling across the bridge, another truth pressed against his chest. Those people weren't strategic assets. They were human beings. "I understand, Herr Colonel. I wonder if you do." Scheller turned. "I've read your file. Your father was a professor, a humanitarian, the kind who believed in human life above national interest. My father is dead, sir. Died in a British raid in 43. Yes. And yet you carry his weakness." Scheller stepped closer. "Let me be clear. When I give the order, you will detonate. If you hesitate, I will shoot you myself. Then I will push that detonator. The bridge falls either way." After Scheller left, Klaus stood alone. Through the window he could see them. A mother carrying a child, an old man with a cart, soldiers with bandaged heads leaning on each other. The radio crackled. "American armor spotted. Distance 8 kilometers." Time was running out. Klaus descended to inspect the charges. The Ludendorff Bridge was an engineering masterpiece. Built in 1918, 3 spans stretching 325 meters across the Rhine. Stone towers like medieval fortresses. Now it was wired to become a tomb. Refugees parted around him like water. Beneath the deck, the charges waited. 2 tons of explosive in hollow support columns, electrical detonators connected to the command bunker. He ran his hand along cold stone. How many seconds would they have when the explosion started? "Pretty bridge." Klaus turned sharply. A young woman stood nearby, mid-20s, filthy clothes, gaunt face, but alert eyes. "You should keep moving," Klaus said. "The Americans are coming." "I know. Everyone's crossing, running from one hell toward another." She spoke German with a slight accent. "But you know that, don't you?" Klaus tensed. "I don't know what you mean." "The explosives. Under the bridge. I saw you checking them. Very thorough." Ice flooded his veins. If she knew, others might know. "I haven't told anyone." "What's the point? They have no choice but to cross. Neither do you. Following orders. The German specialty." "You should go." "I am going. Slowly." She paused. "What's your name?" Officers didn't exchange names with refugees. "That's not important. My name is Anna Kessler. 3 days ago, Soviet soldiers executed my father. Yesterday, American artillery killed 37 refugees near Bonn. I counted the bodies. Today, I might drown because a German engineer follows orders. I'd like to know his name." Klaus met her eyes. Something in them reminded him of broken glass. "Klaus Richter. I hope you sleep better than I do, Captain Richter." She disappeared into the crowd. Klaus looked down at the river. Dark, cold, fast. Anyone falling in had maybe 2 minutes before hypothermia. The radio crackled. "Captain Richter, report to command immediately." The bunker was chaos. Officers shouted into telephones. Maps covered every surface. Scheller stood at the center. "Richter, American armor is moving faster than anticipated. Contact in less than 2 hours." Klaus felt his mouth go dry. "The bridge, sir. Those refugees are buying us time. Every minute the Americans navigate around crowds is another minute for our rearguard, using their own people as human shields. When do I detonate?" "When I give the order." Scheller pulled out a pistol. "This Luger belonged to my brother, executed in 1944 for failing to destroy a bridge in France. The Americans used it to bring supplies forward. My brother's failure cost German lives." Klaus stared at the weapon. "Yes, sir. The Führer has issued orders about the Rhine. Any officer who allows a crossing point to fall into enemy hands faces execution. Their families will be arrested." The threat was clear. Detonate or die. And not just Klaus, his mother, his sister. "I will execute your orders, Herr Colonel." A young lieutenant approached Klaus outside. "Captain, some men have families crossing right now. They want to know." "Tell them nothing." "Sir, my wife, my daughter, they're on the bridge. If something happens..." The man was barely 22, eyes red with exhaustion and fear. "What's your name?" "Werner, sir. Lieutenant Hans Werner." "Keep your men calm, Lieutenant. That's an order." Werner saluted shakily. How many others had loved ones on that bridge? How many would hate him when the explosives detonated? An explosion thundered. American artillery, getting closer. 3:47 p.m. Klaus stood beside the detonator, hand on the plunger. Only Klaus, Scheller, and 2 SS guards remained in the bunker. "American forward units reached the western approach." Scheller's voice crackled. "Stand ready to detonate on my command." Through the observation slit, Klaus saw chaos. Refugees were running now. They'd heard the gunfire. A young boy fell, perhaps 7 years old. The crowd swept over him. Klaus watched, horrified. Then Anna Kessler pushed through. She pulled the boy up, lifted him onto her shoulders. She looked up at the bunker. Their eyes met. "Captain Richter!" Klaus jerked to attention. Scheller stood beside him, hand on his pistol. "The Americans are on the bridge. I can see their lead tanks." Klaus looked. A Sherman tank nosed onto the approach. Infantry followed. "Detonate now. Direct order." Klaus's hand tightened. One push. "Captain, I will not repeat myself." Klaus saw Anna helping an elderly woman on the bridge. "Richter!" Scheller's hand moved to his pistol. "The civilians are enemy assets." 3 seconds. 1. Klaus's vision narrowed. 2. Images flashed. His father's face. The professor who taught him engineering was about building, not destroying. 3. Klaus pushed the plunger. Nothing happened. The circuit was complete. Indicator light glowing green. The explosives should have detonated, but the bridge stood firm. Scheller stared in shock, then fury. "What did you do?" "I followed orders, Herr Colonel. I pushed the detonator." "You sabotaged the charges." "The charges were properly set. If they didn't detonate, there's another reason." But Klaus knew the truth. Someone had cut the wires. Scheller threw Klaus toward a guard. "Watch him. If he moves, shoot him." The colonel grabbed a telephone. "Primary demolition failed. Manual detonation teams to the bridge. Now." Klaus knew. Lieutenant Werner, the young officer with family crossing. He'd been assigned guard duty near the western explosives. German soldiers ran toward the bridge with satchel charges, but it would take time. The American tank was halfway across. "You did this." Scheller's voice was ice. "You arranged this." "I was here, Herr Colonel." "Under your supervision," Scheller struck Klaus with his pistol. Pain exploded. Blood filled his mouth. One guard spoke. "Sir, demolition teams report heavy fire. They can't reach the charges." Scheller went pale. "Take Richter to the bridge. He'll personally place the charges. If he refuses, throw him off." Guards dragged Klaus from the bunker toward the bridge. Sound hit like a physical force. Gunfire, explosions, screaming civilians caught in crossfire. Bodies littered the approach. Some soldiers, some civilians. A woman clutched a dead child. "Move!" A guard shoved Klaus onto the deck. There, in the middle, Klaus saw Lieutenant Werner. The young officer stood beside an explosive charge, wire cutters in hand, uniform torn, face streaked with tears. "I'm sorry, Captain, but my daughter, I couldn't..." A bullet took him in the chest. Werner dropped. Klaus ran forward, pulled Werner behind a pillar. The young man's eyes were glassy. Did she make it across? My daughter? I'm sure she did. Klaus held his hand. Werner smiled, then stopped breathing. Guards grabbed Klaus. On your feet. The colonel wants the charges reconnected. Klaus stood, but his eyes were on the wire Werner had cut. Scheller followed them onto the bridge. The colonel looked insane. Captain Richter, repair the circuit, now. Klaus knelt beside the cut wire. Tools were right there. He could repair it in 5 minutes and condemn hundreds to death. Americans had taken the western end. They were allowing civilians to cross. Medics were treating wounded refugees. Repair it! Scheller pressed his pistol to Klaus's temple. Or I'll paint this bridge with your brains. Klaus picked up the wire stripper. Could he do this? He looked at Scheller, saw not a man, but a ghost. No, quietly. But it felt like the loudest sound Klaus had ever made. What did you say? I said no, Herr Colonel. I will not repair the circuit. I will not destroy this bridge. Nobody moved. Then Scheller smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. He turned to guards. Shoot him! Guards raised rifles. Klaus closed his eyes. He thought of his father, Werner, dying with a smile because he'd saved his daughter. Gunshots came, but Klaus felt no pain. He opened his eyes. Both guards were down. Anna Kessler stood behind them, holding an American rifle. You saved my life once today, Captain. When you hesitated, those seconds gave me time to get the boy to safety, returning the favor. Scheller spun toward her. Anna shot him in the shoulder. The colonel went down. American soldiers ran toward them, shouting. Klaus raised his hands. Anna translated. They want to know if there are more explosives. Klaus nodded. Tell them yes, but the primary detonator is disabled. An American sergeant stepped forward. He looked at Klaus's uniform, the engineer's insignia, the tools. You're the one who was supposed to blow the bridge. Klaus understood enough English. Yes, but you didn't. No. The sergeant studied Klaus, then lowered his rifle and extended his hand. Thank you. Klaus stared. An American soldier, thanking a German officer. He took the hand. Behind them, Americans flooded across. Medics treated wounded. Engineers examined the structure. Civilians kept crossing, alive. Scheller's voice cut through. This isn't over, Richter. Berlin will hunt you. They'll find your family. The Americans took Klaus into custody. An intelligence officer arrived. Captain Morrison spoke fluent German. Captain Richter, why didn't you blow the bridge? Klaus breathed. Because I'm tired of killing people who aren't my enemies. Morrison made notes. You'll be classified as a prisoner of war, if my own side doesn't execute me first. About that, Scheller's been making threats. About your family. We could offer protection, help you contact them. In exchange for information, bridge defenses, demolition protocols. You could save lives. Klaus understood. If he cooperated, he'd be a traitor. Every German soldier who died would haunt him, but every bridge that didn't explode meant civilians lived. I need time. 1 hour. After Morrison left, Klaus sat alone. Through the window, the bridge. Americans removing German explosives. Anna Kessler appeared. They're letting me leave. Refugee camp. I'm glad, she said. You made an impossible choice. But you chose to save rather than destroy. That means something. Does it? My family will pay. You saw human beings and chose to let them live. That's revolutionary. She left. When the hour ended, Morrison returned. Your decision? Klaus breathed. I'll give you information. Everything. In exchange for protection for my family. And a promise. When this war ends, help me rebuild. I'm an engineer. Europe will need bridges. Morrison extended his hand. Deal. They shook. Klaus felt something shift. Not relief, not redemption, but perhaps the first seed of peace. 3 months later, May 8th, 1945, Germany surrendered. Klaus sat in a POW camp near Paris, listening. The war in Europe was over. Morrison kept his word. Klaus's mother and sister were safe. Scheller died in Berlin's defense. The Ludendorff Bridge stood 10 more days. Then, weakened by artillery, it collapsed. 10 American soldiers died. Klaus wept. He'd tried to save it, but war took it anyway. Still, during those 10 days, 25,000 American soldiers crossed. Thousands of refugees reached safety. In July, Klaus was released. Allies determined he wasn't a war criminal. His testimony had been valuable. American soldiers testified how he'd helped save lives. He returned to find a Germany that no longer existed. Cities in ruins, bridges destroyed everywhere. Klaus stood in Munich, looking at rubble that had been the Reichenbach Bridge. Going to stare at it or help rebuild it? Klaus turned. An American Army Corps engineer stood there. You're hiring German engineers? Anyone who knows how to build bridges. You're Klaus Richter? Morrison sent word. Klaus felt something unfamiliar. Hope. I know how to build bridges. Good. We need about 5,000. You in? Klaus looked at the destroyed bridge, then at blueprints. He took the officer's hand. I'm in. For 10 years, Klaus Richter rebuilt bridges across Germany. He worked with American, British, French engineers, former enemies building together. He never forgot Remagen. Never forgot Werner dying because he saved his daughter. Never forgot Anna Kessler saying that choosing to save rather than destroy was revolutionary. Every time Klaus completed a new bridge, watching people cross from one side to the other, he felt that maybe he'd been right to refuse that order. He built bridges, and perhaps he built something else too. A bridge back to his own humanity. If you found this story compelling, please like and subscribe for more untold World War II stories. These are the moments history rarely mentions. The impossible choices, the quiet courage, the individuals who refuse to become monsters. Because sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is refuse to pull the trigger.